Bethany is the second woman, I went through the whole list.
Wow.
Second female lieutenant governor in Delaware's history. The first was Ruth Ann Minner from Milford, also southern Delaware. Ruth Ann Minner served from 1992 to 2000 as lieutenant governor under Harper was governor, and then Ruth Ann Minner went on to a higher office. The higher office she went on to was governor. Ruth Ann Minner was the first female governor. And it's interesting that Bethany and Ruth Ann, who's now passed away, had the same political career path. So it would be nice if we had another female governor.
Oh, wow. Wow, thank you. Oh my God, no pressure. No pressure. Wow. That's amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mitch. Now, do you want me to use both mics? The professor has to check. I've got this fuzzy mic. This is a mic. This is not a pen. But thank you, Mitch. I just really appreciate that. And those who moved here, show of hands, probably most of the room, not all, because I have a school teacher who taught me, Ms. Dawn Lakites in the back was my teacher. So you can take responsibility, good, bad, or indifferent. But how many of you have relocated to Delaware in the last 20 years here? 25 years, the majority. Okay, how about in the last 5 years? All right, a majority of you as well. And so I'm not going to repeat history, and you kind of got my bio. I should put my coffee down and be the good nurse and put our coffee cup down. But I want to give a shout out to our incredible nurse, Colleen. You did a fantastic job. It's an important information. And hopefully folks are signing up. If they're not able to support in person, maybe with donations, right, and support you. But as Mitch indicated, it's really great to be home. And anytime I come in this room and I'm around the 38th, I just have to start, for those who had the fortune of getting to know and work with Rita Hughes, I feel like she should be sitting at this table looking at me right now, and you know, I'm channeling Rita because she kept me straight. And as her friend Carol knows, and Mitch knows, we would text and talk at midnight. So if you're a late night owl, Cynthia Gooch, you all know this, I'm available. Usually till like 2 in the morning grading doctoral papers, because I still do teach full time and still do my research and kept my clinical practice. And actually, I will not out you, but there are a few of you in here during the pandemic. You've heard me talk last year when I came, and I thanked you all for taking care of yourselves, for testing, for vaccinating. And a few of you I vaccinated. You know, I had the opportunity to lead with Governor Carney the pandemic resurgence for the state of Delaware. And in a 6-month window, myself vaccinated 4,000 Delawareans in unusual places, under bridges, nighttime with the mentally ill and the homeless. I do a lot of work in mental health and behavioral health. And that's kind of what brought me to the journey. I won't go into the full background, but a lot of people scratch their head. Why would a mom, a nurse, professor, you know, continue from a state rep to a senator to lieutenant governor and looking, thank you, Mitch, setting the runway. Yes, looking to 24 for sure, because it really matters. I grew up here, literally 2 miles down the road, not even 2 miles. I could ride my bike. I was sharing with folks earlier. When I was 8 or 9, could ride all over Ocean View, could go down to Bethany, where Bethany West is. My dad had a farm there. I was climbing trees. You know, it was a different quality of life. And so it's important to me, those of you who've come, who are my family, each one of you at these tables, you're my family now. And I feel an awesome responsibility, a humbling honor to make sure that we have the best services in this state for you. And so I'm not going to talk super long or give a political speech, because I could talk about budget, I could talk about bills. That's going to be your new Senator Russ Huxtable's job. When he gets to present, he can talk about bills, and I love looking out of the Senate where I preside and seeing him. So I'm not going to go into bills, I'm not going to go into heavy budget items, but I'll talk on a couple little highlights that I think are important. But it's really important for me to hear from you to make sure that we're doing and addressing the issues that are critical for you. And you know, this afternoon I'll be joining Governor Carney out on the beach for Earth Day. I will change. And I'm a connoisseur if you need tips on how to change in your car without getting arrested, I promise. I know how to do that really well. But it's really important that we stand for the things you care about. I had a wonderful lunch with Carol and team and Brenda and everybody here. We were talking, about development and roads and the things, Russ, when you went and door knocked, that you heard. Quality of life, making sure grandchildren and families have good education, making sure you have access to healthcare services when you need it. Many of you are coming from DC, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. You could just jump in your car and go 2 miles and have the Parkinson's expert. You could go 3 miles and have the oncologist. A little different now. And so we in Delaware are working really hard to improve accessibility. And I'll tell you a little bit about that in a second because I think that's important. But when I joined the governor this afternoon, there is nothing more important than preservation, land preservation, and development rights, along with climate. And there's a lot we could talk about, climate and environment and energy, etc. In my years in the House and Senate, I was privileged to sit on those committees, ranging from education to energy to agriculture. And I think, Keith, my chief of staff, Keith Warren, waving over here, who was Ruth Ann Minner's staff, and then was a legislative assistant to our late Beau Biden. Keith will tell you, things change a little, but in Delaware, it's unique to know one another. And so having been raised here in Sussex, graduate of Indian River High School, thanks to Dawn Lee Cates in the back, and she put a collage together with our past Secretary of Education, Susan Bunny, of me and my cheerleading and hockey and all those other things that I did, and it's still in my office, thank you. But what I'm getting at, we're family, and it's a mentoring ship here in Delaware, and whether we're looking at trauma prevention, mental health, opioids, whether we're looking at early education, which is important to me, whether it's the environment or healthcare, we have to work collectively, and it starts here. So I didn't come to talk about Bethany. I really came to inspire you, because I hope I can come back next year if you still like to have me come home. And I'd like to see another table or two in this room. I'd like to actually see 4 more tables. There's room for 4 more tables, because it matters. The Democrat, your short Dems, the committees that are mentioned today, we have to be vocal. You have to be advocates. I have been a long-term committee woman. I started from the ground up and have been very active in policy and politics here, and when I was in Washington, D.C., when my husband was at the Pentagon Annex, when I was there finishing my PhD, you had to be engaged and be involved. And I don't want you to think what you do doesn't matter. It does. Today, you could be out doing your garden, you could be cutting your grass, you could be having a drink at the bar, you could be on the golf cart, but you're here because you care about voting rights. We were talking about the Fox Dominion case yesterday that we were at lunch. We were talking about, truthfulness and voting rights and having access for women's health. All of these things really matter, and they matter to me. And so I can't thank you enough. We in the party are not strong without your advocacy, without your involvement. Cynthia probably has burned up 5 phones and 3 cars and campaigning and door knocking, but it really matters at each of these tables. And I wanted to personally say thank you. And to Harry, where's he? He's filming. You do it all. Do you sit down and eat? I don't think he sits and eats, but the convention coming up, and we have to be supportive all the way up to our own Joe Biden. It's really incredibly important, and our congressional delegates. And for me, I get to see people at the best of times and the most challenging times. I buried this week a 32-year-old staffer who had been in recovery and sober. Unfortunately, the F word, fentanyl, and others found her. And it's a struggle. It's a struggle. We all have to work hard together. And you all know, family or friends, whether it's the opioid crisis, and John, you were with me yesterday at the Behavioral Health Consortium, we in our country are facing lots of challenges. Depression, suicide, mental health. We have services. I am tickled to the moon to brag that Delaware is the first in the country to be moving our opioid abatement, and we are one of the only states in America that has a consortium that looks at cradle to grave, autism, addiction, Alzheimer's, dementia, memory care. And I'm privileged to lead those two bodies. I co-chair the opioid abatement with our Attorney General and lead the Behavioral Health Consortium. But we have resources. So if you have a neighbor who's suffering coming out of COVID with depression, we have hotlines. We have 24/7 resources. Someone with early dementia diagnosis, we can get help for you. Having been the Senate sponsor of the telephonic ability, can you imagine not being able to have health care during COVID without telephonic? You know, that would have been really difficult. Well, I was fault then. The insurance companies fought myself and Senator Representative Short and said, you will gotta destroy the health industry. It saved us during COVID. Good ideas that have come to me, you know, I'm not a rocket scientist, but I'm someone who listens. And I wanna listen to you. I've made that my career path. Mitch will tell you, I love to get the feedback where we can make improvements. So whether it's health, education, environment, land use, I am a call, a text away, and a champion for items. I've been so incredibly honored. Keith knows this, Maddie, who's working with me, Maddie can wait. We've had a chance nationally to pull in best models. I was honored for 2 terms to lead the National Lieutenant Governors Association. So in my leadership as a second command, we're called second in commands. It's because we're right there, God forbid something happened to the governor. So at a moment's notice, if we take over, we have plans in place. But as the National Lieutenant Governor co-chair, leading chairwoman, we borrowed best practices, and people come to Delaware. All eyes have been on Delaware, not because of Fox Dominion, and not necessarily because of Joe Biden, but there's a lot of really good things happening. And Russ Huxtable is going to be one of those people we're going to be following across America. He knows housing. He knows how to get things accomplished. And so as I led the National Lieutenant Governors Association, people have come to us and said, how have you implemented these programs for memory care? What are you doing to be the first in the country to have the overdose system of care? How are you addressing the workforce shortage for jobs, economics, business? How are you keeping Delaware #1 in corporate law? And how are we doing justice, environmental justice, criminal justice, and how do we tie that into trauma prevention, gun violence prevention, and our high-risk needs? My office, because I'm public health, I am an undercover lieutenant governor. Does anybody know what that means? What is an undercover lieutenant governor? Governor. Right, a governor undercover. I go out, that's a good one. I go out as the nurse in scrubs a lot. People don't know me, so I go up to the most mentally ill homeless persons in our state, COVID test, I work with them, I go to the doorsteps of families, and I have found that being that undercover person allows me to see the best way to spend your money. We have to be fiscally aware. You know, you're retired, you don't want your retirements to go away, so we have to be very fiscally sound. And so, again, I wanted to share with you my appreciation, how I will listen. So if you've got great ideas, you did the Blue Ribbon panel in Maryland, no pressure, I'm going to bother him later. I have his number. But we have to look at those issues. Birth to 5 is critical. I'm a Hunt Fellow, Governor Hunt of North Carolina, made me a Hunt King Fellow, and we have 1,825 days for your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, to set 90% of their brain, 0 to 5, 1,825 days. We spend a lot of time in higher ed, which is important, a lot of money in secondary, but we also need to be investing. If we have great early education, parents have their children being educated, a loving relationship for 8 to 10 hours a day. And guess what? Employers have waiters and waitresses and people that they can hire to fill their workforce. And we can work with people like Russ Huxtable to make sure we have houses they can afford. And so having led the National Lieutenant Governor Association, I want you to know that it's been very important that we highlight Delaware. Transition real quick and then I'll stop because I can tell it's time to have dessert and some of you want to bar and golf, I know. But I've had the honor of recognizing when we need to make change. That is one of the things I pride myself on, is getting things done, doing things collectively, getting results. And having been on a bus in 2017 with the Lieutenant Governor of Montana, there was, and I told them I would tell the story. We looked around, there were 7 Democrat lieutenant governors then as part of the National Lieutenant Governor Association. And I said, this has got to change. There was only one other woman. And I said, we've got to do something about this. So we reformed the DLGA, the Democrat Lieutenant Governor Association, had been dead for 16 years. He and I brought it back. Now, I can't take full credit. Somebody called Donald T. I'm going to be like Stephen Colbert. I'm not going to say his full name. If you watch Stephen Colbert, he never says his name. So Donald T. probably helped us a little bit. But I am proud to tell you today, the organization that I rebooted with the governor of Montana is now the most diverse, largest association, the Democrat Lieutenant Governor Association. We have 24 Democrat Lieutenant Governors. Most have gone on to be governor, which is a wall in my office behind me where I want to see my picture go. Hint, you're getting a prelude commercial to future upcoming events that will come. But we really have an appreciation for our committees. If it wasn't for Democrat committees in Pennsylvania, Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman would not be United States Senator, and you in this room. And if it wasn't for Democrat women fighting, Kathy Hochul, been Lieutenant Governor, now Governor of New York, my personal friend, she wouldn't have held on in this last election. And I could go on about Governor McKee in Rhode Island, my good friend Dr. Josh Green in Hawaii. None of us would be there. And so I just want to say your time, your dollars, the things you stand for really make a difference. So I talked probably 15 minutes. So I don't know if my time's up. If I have a hook, do I have time for questions? Again, I just want to say thank you. Again, I look forward to coming back, and I cannot wait to hear from you. Maddie is unofficially going to be working with me on the campaign side. Again, you are getting a little sprinkling of future comings. And Keith is my official office person who is here on his lunchtime today, his day off with me until we go to the beach.